Good evening and welcome back to the channel. Today we're having a look at how we can create really beautiful loading screens that give the users an indication of what's to come on our website. So we're going to do this with a really small amount of CSS, and it's going to be really powerful in order for us to create engaging experiences. So without further ado, let's get to it. And I want to give you a overview over the setup. Here we have a very simple site with 3 cards in the middle. And what I want to do is to create a loader that's going to give an indication of what's going to come on these 3 cards. So I'm going to jump over to my editor and I need to add a loader class. So I'm going to add a skeleton class here, which is going to be the base for the loader. And what I'll do is I'll add a background color to the skeleton base here. And it's going to be a slightly grayish color. We're going to give it a position of relative. We're going to say it has a C index of 9999. We just give it a box shadow none. And we're going to say overflow hidden. All right, so that's going to give us the base. Now I already have an element inside here that has this skeleton class applied. So if we go back to our browser, now you can see we have a grayish background on this title here. So that's a good start. So next up, we are going to go to app CSS and we'll do skeleton dash dash, or sorry, colon colon before. And we're going to add a background color here as well. And we'll give it a content of empty, just because in order to display a before or an after clause, you need to have a content. And this is going to have a position of absolute. So since we gave the skeleton a position of relative, this position absolute will be relative to the base here. So we'll see what that means in a second. But just know that this will be contained to the element and not to the window. So we'll do top 0, left 0, right 0, and bottom 0. That will stretch to cover the entire width of the element. So we'll say content visibility hidden, and we'll give it a set index of 5000. So if we go back to our browser, now we can see that we have a area here that covers the entire title, which is what we want, because we don't want the title to be visible when we have the loader on. So let's continue. We want to add a animation here. So we want it to shimmer a little bit when it's loading, so we can give kind of a indication to the user that something is going on, something is happening. We don't want it to be static like it is right now. So we'll do a skeleton dot colon colon after, and we'll give that a position of absolute as well. And it'll have the same properties: top 0, left 0, bottom 0, and right 0. And we're gonna say transform translate x, and that's going to be minus 100%. And now we'll give it a background image, which is going to be a gradient that's going to be animated across here. So I'm just going to paste that in. I already have it ready. I don't want to type it out because it's a lot to type. But this is the gradient that we're going to use. And then what we want to do is we want to say content is going to be empty, just because we need that in order to get the clause to work. And we'll say set index 5001 because we want to have it visible over the before clause. And we'll say animation is going to be shimmer 3s, and it's going to be infinite. So now we have that, but we need to define this animation here. So we're going to say at keyframes, shimmer. And it's going to be just 100%. And we'll give it a transform of translate X of 100%. So now that we have that in place, we should be able to go back to our browser and do a hard refresh. And now we have this shimmering animation that goes across the entire loading screen here. So what we can do now is we can actually go ahead and go to our app. And let's go ahead and apply this to the elements here. And as you can see, now we have this loading skeleton applied to this first card. And what we can do, and this should really be in a component. Let's go ahead and create that really fast. We'll just say source, new file, card, DSX, and we'll say const card. And that's going to return this. And export default card. And then we need to return this. So if we go ahead and remove this right now, and we'll say card, we'll just put 3 of them in the container here. And now we can see we have 3 cards that are in this loading state. And what we can do now is we can actually set a loading state here. So we'll go ahead and say const loading. And we'll make that a state object. So loading, set loading is equal to use states. And that's going to be false. Or let's actually start as true. And then we'll go ahead and give the loading state to all of the cards. And since we're in TypeScript, we now need to go ahead and give that a interface. So we'll say interface iCard props. Loading is going to be a Boolean. And we'll put that in here. And then we have the loading state. And now what we'll do is we'll say class const classes equals loading skeleton. Otherwise, we're just going to give it an empty string, and we can add this to all of the elements here. So nothing should have changed now. We still have all of the animations going on. But if we add a button, so we'll add a button here. Let's go ahead and get one from Material UI. Not button base, but the actual button. And let's go ahead this. And we'll say stop loading. And we'll do on click. What we want to do is we want to set the loading to be false. Or actually, let's make it toggleable. So we'll set loading to be the opposite of what loading is. So if we go back here now, and the button is all the way down here, that's fine. Let's go ahead and move it inside the app content. And invalid character, looks like I made a mistake. Here we go. So if I click this button now, it's going to stop loading. And if I click it again, it's going to start loading. Now, you'll typically use this when you do an API call and you're waiting for some data. And then you can use the state to start the loading when you start making the API call. And then once you get a response, you can stop the loading. And it's really powerful. It makes the UI kind of come alive a little bit, and you can give, as I said, an indication of what's to come for the user, which makes it less jarring when you get the response and you actually render this, because it's already really there. You just kind of switch it out with the actual content. So that's all for this one. It's really powerful. I think it's a really great pattern to use. It's very user friendly, and it can be done in less than 2 minutes with the right amounts of CSS. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, leave a like and a comment down below. If you're new and you want to find your way back, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.